Hey tech friends, it's Marco again on Tech with Marco. This video will be a bit different than the others I did before, so this won't be a hands-on tutorial on tech stuff. This will be more like talking about how I became a software engineer and like what my journey was and what hurdles I had to take. So as I really enjoyed these videos before I started my career in IT, I'd like to inspire others to start their career in IT or pursue or encourage them to start coding or start learning different IT stuff. So lean back and enjoy some kind of podcasting video. So let's go back in time. When I was 8 years old, I got my first computer, and that one was a Windows 98 with some learning computer games on it. I don't exactly remember what kind of games they were, but they started my interest in just computer programs, and from there on I don't know if I use my computer daily or just every now and then. But I think at that point I was hooked on digital things on the computer. So after a few years later, I had my first jobs. I don't exactly remember how old I was. But when I had enough money, I convinced my parents that I have to buy my own computer for me, because I wanted to have a certain type of processor. And they said, it's your money, you can buy whatever you want. And so I went to my local electronic market and bought my first computer with Windows XP at that point. And shortly after I had my first computer, I started to dissect its components. So I opened the computer, removed the graphic cards, had a look at the main board, looked at the fans the computer had in. After dissecting my computer and knowing its components and what they look like and how they feel, and get to know like physically what a graphic card is, I started to play some games. And first of all, I was interested in gaming, and I started gaming with some friends of my school or like my childhood friends. It became quite normal to have LAN parties at that time with my friends. And sometimes we had a LAN party at my parents' basement, and I was always the guy who, I don't know why, but owned all the games we shared, and I was always the one knowing how to connect all the computers together in a network so that they can share the games over the network, and you don't have to pass on like a CD or a USB drive or a hard drive and whatever you could imagine. And because I was generally interested in how computer worked, I think I was the go-to guy for my friends when they had a question like what graphic cards they should get, what processor they should get, how big the power unit should be, how the airflow should be in the computer. So I don't know why, but I think I got an expert in creating computers with different components for special requirements, so gaming and processing stuff. So as we started then to game online with each other, I think my I think my friends wanted to have like a chat server, and I started my research. I remember that to how to host a TeamSpeak server. For those of you who don't know what a TeamSpeak server is, it's like a Discord of our time now. And I think I started with TeamSpeak 2. So I went to the website, read through all the documentation and guides how to install the TeamSpeak binary on a computer, and then make this binary or this TeamSpeak application accessible from my own local network with port openings of the local network, the router my parents had. And so I hosted basically all the game servers, TeamSpeak servers, some websites just for fun, because I was interested in how that everything works together, how to host a website and what kind of port you have to open, how people can access it with like a dynamic DNS, dynn DNS, because my parents didn't have static IP, so it changed over all the time, and stuff like that. So I was quite interested in all these networking things. And after high school, or during my high school time, I had some people in my school I could talk about all these kind of IT things, but I wouldn't identify myself as like a really geeky boy at that time. So I didn't pursue a career in IT, because I always thought, okay, these guys in my school, they know all about networking. They know all about coding. They had written their own Java programs. They had written their own little games in the browser, like on a web page in the browser. And I haven't done these kind of things. So I was only more interested in, like these system admin things. I don't know how to call them, but so I didn't think of that I could work professionally in that kind of field. And after school, I started studying mechanical engineering because I always was interested in trains and planes at that time. But honestly, I didn't enjoy that. So I quickly made the decision to not go further in studying mechanical engineering, and I quit after like 2 or 3 semesters. But I had one course which was quite interesting for me at that time, and that one was programming in C++. And I really enjoyed that course, and it made me think, why haven't I pursued a career in IT and studied computer science instead of mechanical engineering? And after that, I had like 2 choices. Either I could study computer science, or I could start an apprenticeship in programming, basically. So in Germany, we have a program which is like a dual system. It's like an apprenticeship, I think in the US. Don't nail me on that, but you go to work for a company for a certain amount of time, like between 2 and 3 years. And they also send you to I would say like a lower grade university. So you don't get an official bachelor's degree from that university, but it's part of the apprenticeship program. And you're also getting paid by the company doing that. So you can afford like a basic living. It wasn't that much, but it was okay to get a cheap flat in the city and do groceries and stuff like that. So that was quite nice. And the special thing about the dual system is now that, first of all, you learn like all the practical things, or more or less most of the practical things in your company by just going with experts in the company with coding, and learn all different IT stuff directly from these experts in a practical way, which is really, really nice, I have to say. And on the other hand, you go to the lower grade university, like some kind of school, and you're getting taught most of the time theoretical stuff, but not as theoretical as in a university. So the topics which are getting taught there are more practical as these very theoretical things in computer science at the university. And I was lucky at that time when I started in my company doing my apprenticeship. They started to shift, to migrate from on-premise hosting to the AWS cloud. So I was quite lucky at that point in my company to experience that migration to the cloud. And that's also a part where my interest in DevOps engineering kicked in. So in the company I did my apprenticeship in, the company, they had the policy that you as an apprentice could choose your own departments where you want to have a look into and learn from. So I started with some systems engineering at that time, or system admins at that time, and they mainly managed the on-premise hosting stuff. They did a lot of terminal things and lots of manual work, I have to say. And after that, I kind of switched into software development. So I went into a software team. They were organized in an agile way. So they had different expert roles in the team. So they had software engineers, they had UI, UX engineers, they had DevOps engineers, because they've already shifted into the cloud, and they had the principle of you build it, you run it. And that means that the team which is crafting the software is also responsible for running this piece of software, and has to monitor and make sure that everything is working correctly as they intended to. So I was quite lucky to experience how to ship the software people have written and put it into a put it into a cloud environment with all different techniques with serverless technologies. Yeah, so they could decide on if they, for example, would like to ship their program just on a virtual instance, EC2 instance, a virtual machine in the AWS cloud, or if they even want to abstract that to a more higher level and use, for example, Kubernetes or AWS Fargate, which is their Kubernetes, I would say, or even make everything complete serverless. So serverless in quotation marks, because it is not really serverless, but for people shipping serverless functions, Lambda functions, they don't have to care about the operating systems on the Lambda servers and stuff like that. So as they had the principle, you build it, you run it, they could totally choose what architecture they would use, they wanted to use in the cloud. And so as an apprentice, I was quite lucky to experience all of that, because I could learn like what benefits it has to run things without an operating system to care about below that, or what are the benefits of horizontal scaling, vertical scaling, and all that kind of stuff. So that was really, really nice, I have to say. And that was also, as I already mentioned, the time where my DevOps engineering interest kicked in, because we started to use infrastructure as code with, for example, Terraform or AWS CloudFormation and other tools like that. And I really liked the concept of written infrastructure, because you could always see in the code what the infrastructure looks like, and you haven't done it manually with just clicking on some UI, or didn't even care about, as a software developer, where this program is hosted. Because before the cloud shift, what was normal in the company was that software engineers, they wrote their software. But after that, they shifted, they took the software, the piece of software they've written, and let's say they threw that over a fence to the operating teams, and the operating teams then took that kind of piece of software and said, okay, I don't know anything about it, but I'll just place it on this virtual machine and open these and that ports, whatever. Yeah, I have to say I really like the mixture of a team having different roles. And yeah, you as a team have to think about what are the benefits of different architectures in the cloud, and what are the benefits with your program, what the program is written for, to have that on a bare metal machine, or yeah, whatever use case you could think of. And after I finished my apprenticeship, so I got an official degree by a German institute, which you could translate to German Chamber of Commerce, I guess. So it's like some kind of bachelor's degree. But it's not a real bachelor degree, but it's still very well known in Germany. I don't know how not well known, it's well accepted in Germany. I don't know how the acceptance is in different countries in the world, but I would argue that after a few years of experience in a company or in different companies, I just could apply for different jobs, because I basically don't have a bachelor's degree, but I have a lot of experience in highly scalable environments with lots of traffic and stuff like that. So yeah, I would argue that after a few years of working in the field of IT, you don't really need a bachelor's degree anymore. But it's still nice to have, because what I did after I finished my apprenticeship, I started to studying computer science next to my job in part-time. And had lots of theoretical courses, which were quite nice, and also enlightening me about why I programmed stuff, how I programmed it, how I learned it in my company from different software engineers. So, for example, thinking of runtimes of algorithms, of data processing. And yeah, you could learn how you can calculate the runtime, and if it's exponential and stuff like that. So it's still nice to study computer science, but I would argue that it's quite nice. It might be a better approach to start a hands-on practical thing, even in your own free time next to your computer science studying. But yeah, I always would recommend just use just practice without thinking of the theory behind that in the first place. But after a while, when you're getting more into that theoretical thing, then I would say it's a handy point to know why some things are working and how they are working. And yeah, so after I finished my apprenticeship in that company, I decided to stay in this company because they offered me a job in a quite nice department of the company. And the really, really nice thing about that was the department was more or less new. So me and my team, which I joined, we started on a totally fresh basis. So me and the team, we had the task of building a complete new and fresh system for a new department, as I already said. And that was also very, very nice to experience, because you start off with brainstorming and designing systems on paper. And you really break it down to like an MVP, minimal valuable product, and how the data flow is and what language you're using to code that problem or to solve that problem with the system you have in mind. Yeah, we discussed a lot about different approaches of software engineering. So in the end, I can say we used a event-sourced approach for our systems. And this is also really, really nice architecture design, but it also has its drawbacks. So it's not the solution for everything. But after a few years in that company or in that department, building the exact solution what we had in mind at the beginning, and then extended, of course, after a while with new features and stuff, I decided to quit my job at that company and start my own business, because first of all, I wanted to travel a bit more and be more flexible to work remotely. And yeah, now I started my own company and are working remotely with freelancing and offering my expertise in developing solutions for my customers' problems. So if you're interested in working with me or need to solve a problem, you can just drop me a message and we can see what we can do. And of course, I started this YouTube channel about different kind of tech topics, which I like to use in my free time and enjoy using. So if you haven't subscribed, now it's a good time to do. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed my little talk about my little bumpy path in my career of IT. And I would really appreciate if you leave a comment about your IT or your connection with IT, or how did you become a software developer, or whatever you are, or if you're just doing it in your free time, because I would like to read that story as well. And for those of you who are quite new in the IT field, I hope I did encourage you to do more things, try new things out, and yeah, start your career in IT or coding or whatever. And yeah, catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.